Chicago's Mayor Rahm Emanuel was recently on CBS This Morning discussing public education in Chicago. And he had a very, very interesting take on whether or not students should be able to graduate from high school. He thinks that there should be one very important requirement, and I have a problem with it. Let's take a look.
So to graduate, starting with the freshman class, you have to have been a letter of acceptance from a college, a letter of acceptance from a community college, a letter of acceptance either from the armed services or a trade, making sure that every high school graduate, we're now getting close to and on track for 87% graduation rate. It was at one time in the mid-50s. Every high school graduate has a post-high school education plan because the economy requires it. And we want to make sure our kids do not see graduation from high school as the end point, but all of them have a plan and all of them have a specific acceptance on how to go post-high school education. That is what the economy requires, and that is what they're going to need to succeed in life.
Okay, so before I go on a tirade, I want to point out some of the positive things. Positive thing number one is I think that this comes from good intentions. Although there could be an underlying agenda, which we'll get to in just a second, that does bother me. There's also a positive component to some of the programs in Chicago. For instance, you will get free community college if you have a B average or better in high school. So that's great. That means that there is at least some effort to make higher education affordable for students who work hard and get good grades. Now let me get to my tirade. Okay. I don't think that politicians understand the amount of resources it takes just to simply apply to college, right? They make it seem like it's so simple. You go to a store, you pay a little bit of money, okay, and someone gives you an acceptance letter. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, to apply for college, first of all, there's standardized testing that's required. If you're going to a four-year institution, for instance, that standardized testing is costly. The study materials for it can run in the thousands of dollars, okay? You have to take prep classes if you want to do well on those standardized tests. So that's one thing. There are application fees. There are so many hidden costs that these politicians are either unaware of or they just don't understand because they're in their own little privileged bubble and they don't understand the struggles of students, right? And also, it's not up to you to tell someone what they should or what they have to do after they graduate. I would love it if everyone had the accessibility and the ability to go to college. I wish everybody wanted to do it, and I hope everyone is successful if they wish to do it. But I'm not gonna sit there and force people to either join the military or go to college or do whatever you think is acceptable before they can graduate high school. Did they finish the academic requirements necessary to graduate high school? If they did, they should be able to graduate. That should have nothing to do with post-high school.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I want to first give the good sides of this. Look, I used to tutor and do big brother, big sister kind of stuff at Morningside Heights in New York when I was in law school, and I'd ask the kids, where they wanted to be, and because they don't have good context, they'd say like one of the kids, the main kid that I tutored, was wanted to be a truck driver. That's fine to be a truck driver, right? Mm-hmm. But I wish that he was a smart kid. I wish he had bigger ambitions, right? And I talked to them about that, but I wasn't going to force him to do anything, right? Well, of course, I'm not the government and I'm not in that position, but so I get it. I wish that somebody would tell them that there are bigger things out there. And I think that's a generally noble thing to do. Now, in the past, Rahm Emanuel, when he's done things, we find out later that there were some donors of his who would have profited from the direction that he sent people. Now, to be fair in this case, I don't have those specifics, and he might mean it with the best of intentions. But the bottom line is when you look at it, you say, okay, you got to either go to a four-year university, community college, trade school, apprenticeship, internship, or a branch of the armed services, and that's it. Those are your options. Well, a lot of kids are not going to want to go to more school. They're just not going to want to, and they need the high school diploma. What are they going to do? They're going to sign up for the military. Then we're going to force all these kids to go, and if you sign up for the military, we're in nonstop wars.
Yeah.
And then go and die or get their arms or legs blown off? No. I vote no on this. Look, there's a good and right way to do this. You could spend a lot of money providing counseling to kids and working this through with them voluntarily. Every kid needs to have a counselor talk to them about this and talk about their plans. Great, because you're giving them context they might not have. But if you make them do it, and then the last option is the military, a lot of people are going to choose the military. And if they will choose that voluntarily, God bless, great. But if you're kind of forcing them into it, no, not great.
I have a better idea, actually. Look, counseling is important, okay? I think that every high school should have a counselor or an individual at least that helps students navigate what their options are after they graduate high school. I was lucky enough to have a counselor like that, and it was great. He gave me some advice that I didn't agree with, but I, used the advice that applied to me. Now, I think what's more important is to ensure that college is accessible for everyone, right? So they're talking about forcing people to apply and get accepted into colleges. Okay, again, that takes resources, but you know what also takes a lot of resources? Going to that institution, okay? A lot of students don't even think that that's in the future for them because they know that it's so insanely unaffordable right now. So community college, making that affordable, that's nice, it's sweet, but an associate's degree or whatever you get from a community college is not enough. Right? A lot of people want to transfer to a four-year college and get their bachelor's degree. What are you doing? Well, how are you fighting, Rahm Emanuel, to make college more affordable? Yeah. Nothing. You're just forcing these kids to get accepted into institutions that they might not even be able to go to or afford.
Again, I like the community college plan, and it's, for a mayor, I think that maybe it's probably better than a lot of mayors are doing. So credit where credit is due. But I think making this compulsory is a really bad idea. So I think that they should probably rethink that. Podcast The Young Turks anytime you want. TYTnetwork.com/join.
I think it's weird.
No, it's not weird. In fact, you'll think,
I'm like a smart person.
Do it now. TYTnetwork.com/join.